Somewhere in the world right now, a man is sitting in a coffee shop. He looks ordinary, laptop open, sipping an espresso, maybe reading a newspaper. He is not ordinary. He knows the phone number of a government minister 3 countries away. He knows which general can be bribed, which politician has a secret, and which border crossing goes unwatched after midnight. He has 3 passports in 3 different names, and every single one of them is real. He doesn't carry a gun. He doesn't need one. He is a CIA officer, and the operation he's running right now, you will never hear about it. Not in 5 years, not in 20, maybe not ever. This is how the most powerful intelligence agency ever created actually works. Not the Hollywood version, not James Bond, the real machine. The structure, the strategy, the divisions that operate in the shadows of every major world event. Elections, coups, wars, assassinations, often unseen, often uncredited, always present. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the CIA is built, how it thinks, how it operates, and why every government on Earth, ally or enemy, is at least a little afraid of it. Let's begin at the beginning.
December 7th, 1941. Japanese warplanes appear over Pearl Harbor, Hawaii without warning. In 2 hours, 2,400 Americans are dead, 8 battleships destroyed. The U.S. Pacific Fleet is crippled. But here is what haunted President Roosevelt more than the bombs themselves. America never saw it coming. The attack had been planned for months. There were signals, whispers, fragments of intelligence scattered across a dozen different government departments. The Army, the Navy, the State Department, the FBI. Nobody was talking to each other. Nobody was connecting the dots. The information existed. The warning was there. Nobody put it together in time. Pearl Harbor wasn't just a military disaster, it was an intelligence disaster. And it would never happen again. Roosevelt immediately moved. He appointed General William Wild Bill Donovan, a decorated war hero, a Wall Street lawyer, a man with ice in his veins, to build America's first ever centralized intelligence organization. They called it the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. The OSS was unlike anything America had created before. Donovan recruited spies, saboteurs, codebreakers, and psychologists. He sent agents deep into Nazi-occupied Europe, into North Africa, into the jungles of Burma. They blew up bridges, recruited resistance fighters, stole documents, and fed disinformation directly into Hitler's command structure. It worked. But then, the war ended, and President Truman, deeply suspicious of anything that looked like a secret police force, shut the OSS down in 1945. He would regret that decision within 2 years. Because by 1947, the Soviet Union had exploded its first nuclear test ahead of schedule. They had spies inside America's own nuclear program. Communist parties were surging across Europe. China was falling. The Cold War had arrived, and America was fighting it blind. Truman moved fast. On September 18, 1947, he signed the National Security Act into law. With a single pen stroke, the Central Intelligence Agency was born. The first peacetime, non-military intelligence agency in American history. Truman's original vision was almost modest. What he actually created was something far more powerful than he imagined. Within 1 year of its founding, the CIA was already running covert operations in Europe, funneling money into Italian elections to block communist candidates, and building the infrastructure of a global shadow network that still operates today. The machine was alive.
Most people imagine the CIA as one thing, one building, one boss, one mission. It isn't. The CIA is 5 distinct machines inside one machine, each with a completely different function, each reporting ultimately to one person, the director of the CIA, who reports directly to the President of the United States. Here is how it actually breaks down. The Directorate of Operations. This is what movies are made about. And for once, the movies aren't entirely wrong. The Directorate of Operations, also called the National Clandestine Service, is the CIA's human intelligence arm. These are the people in the field, the ones recruiting foreign agents, running spy networks, and conducting covert operations in countries the CIA will never officially admit to operating in. Inside this directorate, the most important person on the ground is the case officer, sometimes called a field officer. Their job is not to gather intelligence themselves. Their job is to find and manage human sources who can. A good case officer might spend 2 years befriending a mid-level government official in a target country before that official ever knows they're being cultivated as a source. Patience is the primary weapon. Above the case officer sits the chief of station, the senior CIA officer in each country, operating under diplomatic cover, usually out of the American embassy. Every CIA activity in that country runs through them. They are, in effect, the CIA's ambassador, except nobody knows their real job. The Directorate of Analysis. If operations is the sword, analysis is the brain. This directorate employs thousands of analysts, historians, economists, linguists, scientists, former military officers, whose sole job is to take raw intelligence from every source available and turn it into actionable assessments for the president and senior policymakers. Every morning, the President of the United States receives a document called the President's Daily Brief, the PDB. It is the most classified daily document in the world, prepared by CIA analysts, delivered before breakfast. It tells the most powerful person on Earth what they need to know about threats, opportunities, and developments across the globe. That document is the Directorate of Analysis at work. The Directorate of Science and Technology. This is where things get extraordinary. The CIA's Science Division has been responsible for some of the most remarkable technological achievements of the last 75 years, many of which the public still doesn't know about. The U-2 spy plane, which flew so high it was considered invulnerable, photographing Soviet military installations with precision that shocked military planners. The Corona satellite program, the first spy satellite in history, returning film canisters from orbit that revealed Soviet nuclear sites that no human spy could ever access. Advanced eavesdropping technologies, facial recognition systems, hacking tools, and cyber weapons. Much of what the NSA and military intelligence now use traces its origins to CIA science and technology work. Today, this directorate focuses heavily on artificial intelligence, big data analysis, and cyber operations, the new frontier of intelligence gathering. The Directorate of Digital Innovation. Added in 2015, this is the newest and fastest growing part of the CIA. Its mission? Ensure that the CIA can operate effectively in a world where the most valuable secrets are no longer locked in filing cabinets, but buried in servers, encrypted messages, and social media patterns. CIA hackers, digital infiltration, data exploitation at a scale that would be difficult to comprehend. This directorate works closely with the NSA, but operates with its own distinct offensive and intelligence gathering capabilities. The Directorate of Support, the invisible infrastructure, logistics, security, finance, training, communications. Every deep cover officer operating abroad needs documents, money, transport, medical support, and emergency extraction capability. This directorate ensures the machine never runs out of fuel. 5 directorates, 1 mission. Know everything before everyone else. Understanding the structure is one thing. Understanding how it actually moves, how an operation goes from idea to execution, is something most people never see. It starts with a requirement. The President, the National Security Council, or senior policymakers identify an intelligence gap. What is North Korea actually building underground? Who is financing this terrorist network? Is this foreign election being manipulated? That requirement flows down to the CIA director, who assigns it across the relevant directorates. Analysis tells operations what they need. Operations figures out how to get it. The first tool is always human intelligence, recruiting a source with access. A CIA officer identifies a target, maybe a scientist at a foreign weapons program, maybe a finance minister's assistant, maybe a disgruntled military officer who resents his own government. The officer begins what's called an access operation, months or years of building a relationship, establishing trust, identifying the target's motivations. Because the CIA has a framework for understanding why people betray their countries. They call it MICE: money, ideology, coercion, ego. Every person who has ever spied for the CIA did so for one or more of these reasons. Some needed the money. Some genuinely believed in American values and wanted to help. Some were blackmailed, and some, perhaps the most useful, simply wanted to feel important, to be seen by the most powerful intelligence service in the world. Once a source is recruited and producing intelligence, they become an asset. The case officer becomes their handler, their only point of contact, their protector, their lifeline. If human can't get the job done, Sigmund takes over, signals intelligence. The CIA works alongside the NSA to intercept communications, hack into secure networks, and pull intelligence from digital infrastructure. And if intelligence alone isn't enough, if the president decides the situation requires action, not just information, the CIA has one more capability: covert action. These are operations designed to influence events in foreign countries in ways that can never be officially attributed to the United States government. Funding opposition political parties, arming rebel groups, spreading strategic disinformation, sabotaging weapons programs, and, in extreme authorized cases, removing individuals who pose existential threats to American national security. Every covert action requires a presidential finding, a written document signed by the president authorizing the operation. Without it, nothing moves. This is the legal architecture that separates the CIA from a rogue agency, in theory. There are other great intelligence agencies: Britain's MI6, Russia's SVR and FSB, Israel's Mossad, China's MSS, each of them formidable, each of them feared in their own domain. None of them are the CIA. Here is what makes the CIA categorically different. First, resources. The CIA operates on a budget that is classified, but based on the intelligence community's overall budget, publicly acknowledged at around $90 billion annually, analysts estimate the CIA's share alone is likely $15 to $20 billion per year. No other foreign intelligence agency on Earth comes close. Second, global reach. The CIA maintains a presence in virtually every country on Earth, either through official stations inside American embassies or through non-official cover officers who have no diplomatic protection whatsoever. If they're caught, America doesn't acknowledge them. These officers, called NOCs, non-official cover, are considered the most elite and most exposed intelligence officers in the world.
Third, the combination of capabilities. Every other intelligence agency specializes. The Mossad is extraordinary at targeted operations. GCHQ in Britain leads in signals intelligence. Russian intelligence excels at disinformation and political manipulation. The CIA does all of it, simultaneously, at global scale. Human intelligence, signals intelligence, technical intelligence, covert action, cyber operations, analysis and influence operations, all under one roof, all coordinated, all directed by a single chain of command that ends at the Oval Office. Fourth, history. The CIA has been present, visibly or invisibly, at nearly every major geopolitical turning point of the last 75 years. The 1953 coup in Iran that removed a democratically elected prime minister and reinstated the Shah, the Bay of Pigs operation in Cuba, the secret wars in Laos and Cambodia, the arming of the Afghan Mujahideen against the Soviet Union, a program so successful it helped collapse the USSR and so poorly planned it helped give rise to the Taliban. The hunt for Osama bin Laden, tracked for years by a small team of CIA analysts who never gave up, leading to the raid in Abbottabad in 2011. Successes and catastrophic failures alike, the CIA has shaped the modern world in ways that are still being understood. And fifth, secrecy. The CIA's deepest operations will not be declassified for decades. What we know about its activities today represents a fraction of what it has actually done. The files that exist, locked in vaults at Langley, Virginia, contain the real history of the last 75 years. Not the history taught in schools, the actual one. The Cold War ended in 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed. For a brief moment, there were serious people in Washington asking whether the CIA was still necessary. Then, September 11th happened, and the world understood that the threats had not disappeared, they had simply changed shape. State enemies became non-state actors. Conventional armies became terrorist networks. Nuclear standoffs became cyber wars. The CIA adapted. It always adapts. Today, the CIA's primary focus areas are China, its military buildup, its technology theft operations and influence campaigns across Asia and the developing world; Russia, its ongoing hybrid warfare operations, election interference capabilities, and aggressive intelligence activities in Europe; Counterterrorism, continuing to track, disrupt, and eliminate extremist networks across the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. And cyber, both defending American interests and conducting offensive digital operations against adversaries. The CIA of today looks different from the CIA of 1947. It employs more data scientists than it does traditional field officers. It runs more algorithms than dead drops. Its officers are as likely to be staring at a screen in Virginia as they are sitting in a cafe in a foreign city. But the mission has not changed since the day Truman signed the National Security Act. Know what your enemies are doing before they do it. Be everywhere, be invisible, be ready. That is the CIA. A machine built in the shadow of Pearl Harbor's failure, forged in the Cold War's paranoia, battle-tested across 75 years of the most dangerous moments in modern history, and still operating right now in ways you will never fully know. Somewhere in the world, a man is sitting in a coffee shop. He looks ordinary. He is not ordinary. If you found this journey through one of history's most extraordinary institutions compelling, hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the systems, structures, and stories that shape our world.